How can you balance following the counsel to move out of the cities into the country so you can grow a garden and not get sidetracked and miss the whole point, and that is the spiritual purpose of it all. And so if we're preparing for hard times and all we're thinking about is us and our family, and we're not thinking about spreading the gospel and sharing with our neighbors, then we're missing the point. And then we're going to have an amazing true story about how someone who had no money to buy country property, and by the way, I've been to a lot of seminars on country living, and the overall tone that you hear is buying property, buying solar, buying this, buying that. But when you read Ellen White carefully, the counsel doesn't say you have to buy it. It says secure it. So that could include renting. When yesterday I showed some people that have been renting country property for 10 years, and then other ones who bought the property. So what I suggest is look at your own personal situation. If you're renting, then look for property to rent. If you own property, then look for property to buy. God doesn't expect you to go beyond what he asks you to do. And so it's not limited to people that can afford to buy or people that are debt-free. And we've talked at times about what do we do if we're a young family and don't have any money? What do we do if we're a widow and 80 years old and I can't do all this work myself? And I believe that as time gets close, God will put people together to be able to work as a team, so you could have a young family with energy and the ability to chop firewood, and an elderly person who owns the property but doesn't have the strength to do it, and you could combine together. So I believe God will do that when the time is right. But I'm going to show you a video clip of 2 miracle stories, and then we're going to have some special features after that. So let's jump in. Doomsday preppers. While there have always been people with enough foresight to plan for the future, it seems to have been in the last decades, there's been an emergence of prepping. This phenomena involves a person planning for some future catastrophic event by having a contingency plan, which might include some facets of preps. The preparation areas could include having a backup plan for almost anything in a climactic incident. There are a wide variety of fears, including economic collapse, massive earthquakes, rising ocean levels, super tsunami, catastrophic weather, global pandemic, polar shift, sudden climactic change, solar flares. That's what we just had, was a solar flare, made the coronavirus, the Northern Lights phenomena, super volcano. And by the way, that event did interrupt some communications. We have an Adventist radio station that I'm the programming manager for, and somebody that was listening contacted our general manager and said, hey, your radio station got loud and it's really staticky. So, you know, the 3 of us who are able to do it, I sent an email. I said, hey, did you guys change anything? Did you turn up the transmitter beyond what it's supposed to be? And they all said, we didn't do anything. And after doing all the research, we concluded it was the Northern Lights that affected our radio station. And sure enough, a couple of days later, when the Northern Lights phenomena was gone, the radio station went back to normal and we didn't do anything. So if you had a really big solar flare, it could literally take the grid down. Supervolcano, hyperinflation, catastrophic oil crisis, EMP detonation, we talked about that, power grid going down, terrorist attack, nuclear accident or war, civil unrest, martial law, the apocalypse, and the end of the world. So there's lots of things that people are worried about. And these people are making plans on how to survive. And we talked about the other day about how I believe that I think I even have it in here, it's the difference between a doomsday prepper and a Christian preparing as God has counseled us to do, is that we believe in creation and they don't. And if you believe in evolution, you believe in survival of the fittest. So if you're a prepper and somebody comes on your property and say, hey, I need some food, they'll pull their guns out and say, if you cross that line, I'm going to kill you. Now, a Christian would say, I'll share my food and God will bless me like he did Elijah and the widow. Okay, so here's a video clip of a bunker mentality.
60 miles north of Dallas, far away from the constant roar of traffic, there's something going up in rural Fannin County that's still generating buzz. Developers call it Trident Lakes.
It's going to be one of America's most fun, most plush, but also one of its safest neighborhoods. It's going to be a 5-star resort with DEFCON preparedness.
This 50-foot solid marble statue and fountain being built offers a peek of what's to come, where developers lure potential residents who may have a bunker mentality, yet still enjoy the lap of luxury. Amenities include a golf course, equestrian center, spa, gun ranges, stores, and restaurants.
Is this a resort or a bunker?
Yes.
In this prairie, underground, earth-covered condos will be built with above-ground terraces, overlooking lagoons and white sand beaches.
Planners say the underground luxury condominiums will also be connected by a series of tunnels that will lead to a larger gathering space.
Aside from food, developers say the community will feature off-the-grid sources of energy and water, so people can live safely underground.
You lower your air blast lock doors, and you're safe from the dangers.
Witt says starting prices may be $500,000. The first phase is invitation only, mostly for athletes and celebrities. Phase 2 is for everyone else, and there's already a waiting list.
And then you've probably heard about some of the really wealthy people who are going to great extremes to build a complex to save themselves when the world falls apart.
Billionaires are also obsessed with preparing for the end of the world. World War III, nuclear fallout, solar flares that destroy the electricity grid. Whatever you can dream of, it's not just tinfoil hat people that are prepping for it, but also the billionaires. Because as a billionaire, if you can easily afford it, why would you want to suffer along with the rest of the plus when the end times arrive? So what do? You invest a few pennies of your net worth into a doomsday bunker. We're talking a few $100 million, but that is still pennies to you. And no, we're not talking about some cold, barren, uncomfortable bunker. We're talking about luxurious billionaire bunkers with all the amenities you could dream of to keep yourself busy as the world burns down. Heck, even Mark Zuckerberg, the most vanilla tech billionaire out there, even he has hopped on the billionaire bunker train. On a secluded ranch on the island of Kauai in Hawaii, Mark has been organizing a massive secret construction operation. The construction site is hidden behind 6-foot walls to prevent any passing cars from seeing inside. The only vehicles allowed are pickup trucks carrying a variety of materials and hundreds of workers. The entire place is crawling with security guards 24/7, and no one is allowed to talk about what they're building on sites. Not even the different crews working on the site are allowed to discuss what they're doing with each other. But that's not all. Everyone who works on Zuckerberg's secret Hawaii property is also forced to sign a super strict non-disclosure agreement or NDA before being allowed inside. And this isn't just some old NDA that no one ever enforces. No, one guy working on the project has already been fired just for posting a photo on Snapchat while he was on sites. Another former employee who refused to share his identity described the project by saying it's like Fight Club. We can't talk about it. Anything posted from there, they get wind of it right away. Obviously, Mark Zuckerberg, the undisputed king of invading everyone else's privacy, is going to great lengths to make sure that no pictures or details of what he's building ever gets leaked to the public. But why? It's because he's building a massive 1,400-acre self-sufficient compound, which features a state-of-the-art doomsday bunker, just in case.
Something big. Mark Zuckerberg may be planning on his Hawaiian estate. Wired reports that Meta's founder is building a mega compound on roughly 1,400 acres of land on the island of Kauai, including an underground bunker with a concrete-filled metal door.
The guy talked pretty fast. I hope you heard what he said. So, prepper defenses. Most preppers not only store up food and other preps, but defensive equipment such as stockpile of guns and ammunition. I know of a person, he's actually a relative, and he has a off-grid property, and my brother sent a picture of his room full of guns, and he's got like a gun that's this long, and the whole room's full of guns. It's like, brother, give me a break. The prevailing mindset seems to be if a neighbor came on the property asking for food during a crisis, the response would be an emphatic no. They would then threaten if the individual attempted to take the provisions, they would respond with deadly force. And I talked about evolution versus creation. I really believe that's the difference. There are many reasons why a person might prepare for man-made or natural disasters that would interrupt one's life. But besides these common reasons that doomsday preppers have, we are for being prepared, a Christian has even more insights into the future and therefore reasons to plan. The Bible foretells a time when those who are faithful to God will not be able to buy or sell. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads that no one will buy or sell except those who have the mark of or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Revelation 13. The Christian prepper should have a drastically different reaction from the worldly prepper. If one learns a lesson from the Bible examples such as Elijah and the widow, God will bless our kindness and make up for our deficiencies beyond our preps. Country Living, page 10. God will bless your efforts to do what he asks. The storm is coming, relentless in its fury. Are you prepared to meet it? I see the necessity of making haste to get all things ready for the crisis. The work of the people of God is to prepare for the events of the future, which will soon come upon them with blinding force. So, Isaiah 41, so while we have reason as Christians to do some preparing for the troublous times, we need not be fearful or worried. The Bible says, don't be afraid, for I am with you. Don't be discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you up. The book Last Day Events has an admonition. Quote, again and again, the Lord has instructed our people to take their families away from the cities into the country where they can raise their own provisions. For the future, the problem of buying and selling will be a very serious one. Country Living, page 9. Here we see a reason to prepare, to be self-sustaining when times come when you can't buy or sell if you do not accept the mark of the beast. There is a need for physical preparation. Now is the time to prepare for moving into the country. Now is the time to develop your gardening skills. Now is the time to work on being able to sustain yourselves during the little time of trouble, because the problem of buying and selling will be a very serious one. There will be a time of testing for those who claim to be Christians. This will require patience on the part of each person to withstand the pressures and temptations during the time of trouble. There is coming a time of life-altering changes when we will be tested to the extreme as to whether we trust God and will be faithful to him even under extreme pressure. There is above all else the need for spiritual preparation. Now is the time to draw near to Jesus and allow him to perfect our characters before the close of probation. Once probation closes, we'll be protected by God, and our bread and our water will be sure. This is the first book that I've written. I've written a second book now, Spiritual Preparation for the Time of Trouble, which isn't published yet. We're still proofing it. But if I do a seminar again at camp meeting in a couple of years, it will be on this subject, because the spiritual preparation is more important than the physical preparation. While it is fair to believe that God expects us to do what we can with our resources we have to prepare for the future, we need to plan to not only prepare for ourselves and our family, but also be ready to help those truly in need during the difficult times foretold in prophecy. From the tragic story of the people of Noah's day, we should understand that what is happening in this world is very serious and life-altering. We need to pull away from the draw of worldliness with its pleasures of sin and focus our energies on doing what God has asked us to do and telling others of the time of trouble that's surely coming. Matthew 24. Now learn from the parable of the fig tree. When its branches are ready, because has already become tender and put forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see these things, know it is near, even at the doors. When will the end be? We should know the season. Know it is near, even at the doors. As the parable of the 10 virgins demonstrates, we need to self-examine our Christian experience. Do we have more than the superficial life of a believer? Are we allowing the Holy Spirit to change us into those who reflect Christ? If we do not accept this transformation in our present life, we may find ourselves unprepared to stand the final test. Now is the time to spiritually prepare for the time of trouble. It's important to learn from experience that God can be trusted and his promises are true. Those who will be faithful during the time of trouble will have the patience of the saints and have the faith of Jesus. Spiritual growth includes not being bought or sold. In our inmost souls, being true and honest, not fearing to call sin by its right name. We should strive to have a conscience that is, quote, true to duty as needle to the pole, as the book Education says. We need to stand for right, though the heavens fall. This is, quote, a settling into the truth intellectually and spiritually, so we cannot be moved. Last Day Events 2:19. By spending time with God and proving his faithfulness to us, we can trust him more and more. We will get to the point that we will trust him like a little child trusts his parents, even during a life-threatening time, such as a time of trouble. The time of trouble such as never was is soon to open upon us, and we shall need an experience that we do not now possess, and which many are too indolent to obtain. It is often the case that trouble is greater in anticipation than in reality, but this is not true with the crisis before us. The most vivid presentation cannot reach the magnitude of the ordeal. Great Controversy, page 622. That's some pretty poignant words if you let that soak in. On the website, if you scroll to the bottom, there's downloadable charts and handouts and things like that. And this one here is a really worthwhile one. I would recommend you get it and print it out or whatever. This is a timeline, you might say, of the time of trouble. And if you look at number one presentation, or number two, I guess, yeah, number one, it's called the Spiritual Lessons of the Two Times of Trouble. Well, 10 years ago, I understood, like most of us, that there's two times of trouble. There's the little time of trouble and Jacob's time of trouble. But in recent years, I've found out there's actually three times of trouble. And even James White made a chart with the three times of trouble. And so if you look at this, we've got the National Sunday Law starting the little time of trouble. That's when you can't buy or sell, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And the mark of the beast. And then Michael stands up in Daniel 12. Probation closes. Jesus moves out of the most holy place, and intercession is gone. Then the plagues start to fall. And what's significant, you might recall that Ellen White says that the plagues don't fall on the righteous. And that the wicked, after a while, they start to notice that the righteous are not being affected by the plagues. So then they make a death decree to get rid of them. If we get rid of them, we won't have the plagues. So that's the next thing on the chart, is when they make the death decree. And that's when the second time of trouble, the great time of trouble, switches to Jacob's time of trouble. That's when we flee, because there's a death decree, and God will protect us with our bread and water is sure. And for that matter, our bread and water would be sure in the great time of trouble, when the water turns to blood and everybody else can't drink the water. Our bread and water will be sure. So that time chart is available. All the references in the bottom are where this information came from. And so that's on our website down where the downloadable handouts are.
He that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. For He will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with His feathers. Under His wings you will take refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and a wall. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day, nor of the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor of the destruction that wastes at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only look with your eyes and see the recompense of the wicked. Because you have made the Lord your refuge and the Most High your dwelling place, no evil shall overtake you, no plague shall come near your dwelling. For he will put his angels in charge of you, to guard you in all your ways. In their hands they will lift you up, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. You will tread upon the lion and the viper. You will trample the young lion and the serpent underfoot. Because he has set his love on me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. He will call on me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. I will satisfy him with long life and show him my salvation.
These are the related links that are on the website if you want to watch things related. Is it a lack of faith to be a Christian prepper? Balancing physical and spiritual preparation, balancing spiritual and preparation in the Sustainable Country Living book, and Country Living Testimony from Thompson Falls. I want to introduce you to Svetlana. Did I say it right? Svetlana. Svetlana. Svetlana is going to tell her testimony of how God provided country property for her. It's an amazing story. And then she's going to show you some things that they are doing with that country property. Let me tell you my side of her story, and then she'll tell you her story. I was doing my country living seminars before COVID, and I'm sitting in the cafeteria, and she walks in the door with a tray of food, and I recognized her, but I couldn't remember where. And I asked my wife, and she said, well, I don't know. And so then she came right to our table, and she says, I want to tell you my story. So I went over to where she was. She had a little booth set up over by the auditorium, and I recorded her telling her story. So you can watch it on the website, but I want her to tell you it in person.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you, Don and his family, for all this wonderful work that they're doing for so many years, preparing our church and our people for end times. This is a very significant job what they do. I realize that our people are not ready. They think that the time of trouble comes, we will move and that's it. Now that I moved to the country, I understand it's not that easy. It takes years to learn how to do it. It takes years to learn all these details. And I'll tell you more later, but it's not how people dream about it. Our people not prepared. So he put his goal to make our people ready. And I want to be part of it. And I'm so thankful that he started it, because this is where we learned it. And this is where we start to think and to dream how to move out. And I want to show you a miracle first, so you can see. So this is a property. It has 14 cabins. This kind of cabins, it has 2 stories. They are very beautiful. And let me find more pictures here. And as I said, my English is not my first language. So if you hear me saying something wrong, you can come to me after and tell me, this is what's wrong. You know? So I can learn and I can improve, okay? So I'm totally fine with that. So this is the property that we have. So this is the cabins. And then we have a game room. We have a very nice large area, which is 47 acres. We have 2 creeks, 8 garages to keep stuff, a huge heated shop, apartment house, and lots of 2 acres garden, orchard, and we build a barn. And we have a pond too. And it's a border into national forest. So it's gorgeous. It's absolutely wonderful. The birds are singing. This is a large area where we do all sorts of events and classes. So this is one of the cabins. Let me show you the views around so you can see how pretty it is. It's in the winter. So this is the area. You can see how nicely it's set up. This is a breathtaking views, winter or summer.
Louder.
These are cabins inside. It's very nice cabins. So the value of this property, and this is what we have around us. See how beautiful, we have big river, we have like amazing nature. It's so quiet, you can hear birds, you can see stars, you almost can touch them. You can feel God so close. And we have on our property almost any medicinal herb, you name it, we have it. So the value of this property right now is $2.8 million. And this is a tax one, the one they charge tax. It's usually lower than market price. And the miracle part, I didn't pay a penny for it. And you would say like, how? How did that happen? Right? Would you consider the miracle? Yeah. It is. It's a big miracle. Especially to consider that I'm a first generation immigrant. In 2003, we came to this country with just 2 bags. That's it. So some people have, grandpa, grandma, other generation that left something to start with. We had nothing. So then we came to Don's class. Yeah, it's just a pure miracle that only God can do. So then we came to his class. It was a few years before COVID. And we learned about all the ways how to move out and what you need for the proper property. Not just whatever. You need to have like certain criteria how you search for it. I think you learned all this week, right? So I asked him, so that's why he remembers my face, because I asked so many questions. And I always sat on the back and I was like, probably he got so tired of you back then. But I came home and we started talking with my husband. Like, what are we going to do? And all we had was a small apartment that we bought and we paid mortgage for it. So you basically work, pay mortgage, work, pay mortgage, work, that's it. Like, how are we going to move? Because to move somewhere out, you have to have resources. And you don't want to have a big mortgage because Ellen White says that we should be debt-free. So we started to pray about it. And we prayed. And we prayed, but then you just pray, do you think God wants you to do your part? Yeah, because if you just pray and you don't do anything, right? So we decided while we pray and we still don't have property, let's learn everything we can. So we started to buy books, we started to read them, we started to learn about herbs, we started to go search property, and we started to plan, what do we want? Okay, if you want to move out very far away, how are we going to make a living, right? So we need to have something that produces income. And then we made a little plan on a paper. That would be nice to have a little rooms or cabins so we can rent out like an Airbnb or something. That will be a source of income, right? And then we made a picture on a paper. There will be our house here, and mother-in-law lives with us, so there will be apartment for her, and there will be a big fireplace, and there will be road, it will be national forest right behind us, will be creek, will be pond, and we made a picture. And I put it in my Bible, and I forgot about it. And a few months later, one of my clients, I have a house cleaning business here in Washington, and I try to use my business for ministry as well. So while we clean, we talk to people, we pray with them, we care for people. It's more than just money. And then she died. The lawyer called me and said, she left everything for you. I said, what? She says, yes, she left you a house in downtown Bellevue. She left you a car. She left you all the furniture. She left you jewelry. She left you everything in the house, like whole property. And she made sure, she said to her, I want to make sure that will cost her not a penny. Because then you'll get, she said, I want to make sure it will not cost her even a penny. Because when you inherit property, sometimes it costs $50,000 for paperwork, for lawyers to make it yours. You know, then you have to pay taxes and all that stuff. So she paid ahead. So she paid ahead all the lawyer's fee, everything, so it will cost me nothing. And then I even took the car that she left. There was a sport car, very cute, to put it on my name. And usually, you know, you pay in DMV for registration. And Laura said, no, no, no. And she wrote a check. She told me it shouldn't cost you a penny. I was like, wow, this is really cool. Wow. So, and then we moved to that house in Bellevue. It was an older house because her parents built it, and they were Jews. And that's because Jews, they take really good care of houses. It was beautiful. It was comfortable. Every detail was thought of. I really enjoyed it. But the God started talking to me and said, you asked me to help you to move out. And now you hold into this house because, you know, then you pay mortgage for so long, then you have no mortgage place. You just, oh, so nice. And you feel secure with your house, but I'm your security, not the house. I said, oh, that's right. True. And I told my husband, like, we need to start looking for a place. God will provide. So we shouldn't hold this house as ours. So we start traveling, and we were looking for different places and things. And this particular place, it was on sale back then, but it was $2.5 million. And even if we sell the house, it will be only half. So we didn't want to buy something that, you don't want to have $1 million mortgage if you want to move out to the country. So I didn't even read anything that was there. I just saw pictures, like, oh, this is so nice. It would be nice to have something like that, to have like camp meetings and to have classes and to have, you know, all the gatherings and do something for the Lord. But it was too expensive. So one day we were traveling and looking for the places, and we got lost, and we came across that area. And I liked that area so much. And I started Googling, and this place came out. I said, okay, I better read what it says, because I started getting interested in the area. And it says, for sale or trade. And I'm very person who likes to make jokes. I joke all the time. So I don't know, for sale or trade. And I just write right away. There's like a message there in the website, on the Zillow. It says, text to the agent. So I looked at, okay, I have house in Bellevue. You want to trade? And I thought they will laugh their socks off because the house in Bellevue cost half of the price. And it was just like, I just made a joke, literally made a joke, and I forgot about it. And next day I was at the store, an agent called and said, he's actually interested. I said, what in Russian is что? What's going on? I came home and told my husband, come on, get clothes, get ready, we're going tomorrow. I said, we're going where? We're going to go see this place. What place? I was just like mumbling. It's like, he said he wants to trade. So we went to that place and we looked at it, and you will not believe it. It was exactly how we draw the plan in the picture in my Bible. Amen. Years ago. It was 1-to-1 copy. Because that's why I didn't even consider thinking, is it the right place? Is it from God? Because you can see it's just obvious. I was like, my jaw dropped on the floor. Is that how you say it? When I saw it, this was a house, and I wanted to have an old tree by the house. I don't know why, but it was a big old tree right by the house. And there was a pond that you can see from your bedroom. Beautiful. And then 2 creeks that's own water, own wood, bordering national forest. It has 14 cabins, 16,000 square feet, including lodge. It has 8 garages. It has huge shop that is heated, and apartment for grandma, for mother-in-law. And it had 2-acre garden already fenced. with beds already. The beds were overgrown with grass, but that's okay, we can do it. So when we saw it, I was like, that's it. And they moved, then they said, so for trade, he did all the paperwork, he paid for all the fees, he paid the agent. All we had to do is just put signatures, pack our stuff from Bellevue House, and move it there. That's it. That's it.
Amen. Wow.
And it was January, mid of January. You know Montana in January, how does it look usually?
Snow.
A lot of snow, right? And it's cold. It didn't snow that year.
Wow.
It didn't snow. Christmas had no snow. New Year had no snow. In January, mid of January, we moved, and as the last truck was unloaded, and we took it back to U-Haul. Next day it started to snow. And it just snowed. It just snowed. So it was like a purely God's work. And you can see it's a miracle. God did his part. But we had to do our part too. Right? And I so much appreciate for all this information that Dawn provided. So we picked the right place. Because I know there's a people coming to Montana and they sold property, expensive property here. And they moved there because they wanted to have end-time living style. They bought acre or two and they built a house. So they invested all the money in there. And then I came, they found out, this property has homeowners on it. And the rules are this long.
HOA, Homeowners Association.
So you cannot have even chickens. Not speaking about any animals, any donkeys, any cows, anything if you want to have. There are so many limitations there. You basically can do nothing on that property. So end country, end time living, it looks like end time, they live in Montana. But it's same as they live in the city because they cannot do anything on that property. So it's very important to get yourself educated here and look at his website and listen all the lectures before you make such a drastic move. And then you find out yourself in a ditch, you know? So another thing I wanted to tell Dawn, that maybe he's teaching it now, but nobody told me that you move to the country, you need to have some money saved. Because some people say, oh, as soon as I just put all my energy out, if I just make myself move and I have acquire property, I'm all good. I'm telling you that it costs a lot of money to make property. How you know, child-proof, but this is an end-time proof. Because you need, if you have a fence, if you have a garden out there, you need to have a fence. And fence cost money just for materials, because if you don't have a fence, you will have a deer coming, bear coming, it will be destroyed. To make a fence, I'm telling you because I was doing it. To make a fence, you need to dig a hole. And if you have rock in there, you need equipment. Equipment costs money. Just to rent it, $800 a day. Just to drill the holes, If you want to have animals, you need to have a barn. It costs money to, God really providing and God helped. My dog had puppies, and I sold puppies $900 each, and on that money we built a barn. How Adventist people should approach unbelievers. Because not many people will come to the church when you invite them, right? Some people might be interested, but some people will not. But if you make something that's interesting for them, something that they need, it can be like a health store, it can be childcare services, it can be any kind of business that also spreads the gospel. She calls it center of influence. And it can be established in a small cities, it can be established in a bigger cities. She says that they should provide sort of income so they can self-sustain. So church doesn't have to sustain them. and it can look according to the philosophy of the business. And who will serve? She says the church members should serve in there and should help people to suit their needs. And that way they will spread the gospel. So center of influence, it's a great way to spread something, to teach people something that they're interested in, and at the same time share the gospel. So we have this school they call Simple Living and Survival School, and people come stay in the resort. If they bring a group, we do free class, and we teach a sort of classes on herbs, on backyard pharmacy, on digestive bitters, on off-grid living, or gardening, or preserving, fermenting, building with rocks, building with straw. We have like a big list. If you go outside of the room, there is a poster there. You can see all sorts of classes, and also more about our classes. You can see at this flyer here. So you can bring your group, or you can be a volunteer and you can come and help us, because we need a lot of help with that property. We need heavy equipment. We need volunteers who can clean the woods. We're looking for more teachers to teach the classes. And also another way of serving, I want half of the resort, we wanted to do a faith-based living, because a lot of people retire these days, and then they retire. There's two options: why keep staying in your own place and want to go to nursing home. And people don't like to go to nursing homes, and they try to stay home as long as possible. But often relatives, they worried, say, well, you know, what happened if you fell down? What happened if you got sick and nobody around? And they just force you to go somewhere. So I just thought that would be a great place to be, because it offers like a daily check, not twice a day, but people still can be independent. They can drive, they can live. We have garden, they can volunteer at our school. They can volunteer with our children programs. There's lots of things to do. And it's beautiful there. It's absolutely gorgeous. So this is what we offer. We offer faith-based living with the time of the end in mind. And this is freedom of independent living in Montana amidst stunning, majestic natural surroundings. So we have 14 cabins. We have daily well-being check. We offer house cleaning, because it's harder for people. They can refuse if they don't want to, but this is just easier for older people. Garden and orchard, people can, plant things and use them. We can offer transportation to apartments and appointments and to the church. And it's just nice community of Seventh-day Adventist retired people who can get united and do some ministry as well. It's just a nice place to do. And if someone wants to be part of it, we invite you to call me, and we have application, and we will do only half of these cabins, because half we want to use for ministry, for groups to come and do stuff. So basically, I'm looking for active retired people who wants to have a good living and who wants to be part of a team. Because Ellen White said that retired people, the older people, are the best for the ministry, because they have experience, they have time, and they have a great walk with God already.
To be aware of new videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to the Preparing for the Time of Trouble channel. For more free videos and downloadable audio podcasts, as well as handouts, go to www.preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com. Topic categories include recordings of live seminar presentations, country living, sustainable gardening, homestead remedies, how to be self-sufficient when the grid goes down, wild edible and medicinal plants, hydrotherapy, and end-time Bible prophecies. To take advantage of these free resources, go to preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com.